Hi everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Bring the Zoo to You. My name is Dara. I am a senior animal care specialist here at Brookfield Zoo, and we are coming to you from inside Habitat Africa to talk to you about one of my favorite animals, the dwarf mongoose. Dwarf mongooses are the smallest species of mongoose. They also, in addition to that, they are the smallest carnivore in Africa. Dwarf mongooses are found in Africa, typically in the eastern and central parts of the continent, and they live in kind of a family colony type of group, usually with related and unrelated members numbering up to almost 20. Here at Brookfield Zoo, we have a group of 8. We have 3 adults and 5 juveniles that were born last May, so they are just a little bit over a year old. I will try to introduce them to you, but they zip around their habitat so quickly, it is a little difficult to kind of catch them. You blink and you might miss them. But we do have Aurora, who is the mother of the group. She is 7 years old. She was born in San Antonio Zoo, and she came to us on a breed. The 2 adult males with her are Brookfield Zoo in 2012. Downton Abbey fans back then. So Matthew dad of this group, and his litter mate, Mr. Carson, is just an all-around wonderful uncle, babysitter type of guy. They all take care of taking care of the young, feeding, babysitting, what have you. The 5 juveniles that I mentioned that were born last May and that are just a year old, we kind of went with a... We have 2 females named Andromeda and Luna, and we have 3 males named Haley, Comet, and Hubble. They're very social. They are very active, as you can tell. They are also very vocal. They have a lot of vocalizations that accompany a lot of their different behaviors, and those vocalizations do change depending on the behavior. And they are extremely territorial. They can cover pretty large amounts of space for being such little guys that they are. But unlike most other mongooses, they are alerted to a threat. They don't band together. They actually disperse, because even strength in numbers is not enough for guys these small. So they actually just disperse in all different directions to the aerial predator or the land predator, whoever's coming at them. Mounds out for advantage. Which is why their enclosure is kind of rocky outcrops and things like that. This is very similar to what they would be living in the wild. And aren't they adorable? So, here at Brookfield Zoo, we feed them a variety that is very close to their wild diet. They do get a large assortment of insects, a lot of mealworms, crickets, waxworms, things like that. We also supplement mice. They would eat small rodents and other lizards and things like that in the wild, but they're more omnivores than just true carnivores. They also get a chow diet and raw vegetables here. As you can see, and as I mentioned before, they are extremely energetic, so they get fed several times a day because they are constantly burning off all those calories.
Do they eat snakes?
These guys don't really eat snakes. I'm sure they would try their luck because they are very curious. The snakes that they would come across in the wild would probably be way too big for them, so they would know not to even bother. But there are some species of mongoose that do actually eat snakes. These guys kind of stick with their size ratio, so snakes don't do too much for these guys.
Can you remind us where they're from?
Yes, these guys are from Africa. They are primarily found in Eastern and Central Africa.
And you say they're called colonies?
Yes, they're family groups, colonies.
How big do they get?
They can be upwards of 20 individuals. It's usually a dominant pair, and then unrelated individuals. And as I had mentioned before, everybody takes care of the young in the group, and they have to all kind of work together. I mean, that's the whole point of being in a group, is to work together, protect each other, look out for each other. Cool thing that they do with hornbills out in the wild, where they actually kind of look out for each other. They will alert hornbills, hornbills will alert them. If there's predators in the area, they kind of give out an alarm call, and that way they kind of keep each other safe. It's pretty cool. The hornbills also get to eat all the insects that they may have dropped when they're running for safety. So kind of works out for everybody.
So will the babies that were born last year, will they stay in this group then for a while?
There are plans for them to stay in this group for a while. The species survival plan that manages dwarf mongoose, as well as many of the other animals in our care, they kind of determine where there's a need and if there's availability for these guys to go in other places. A lot of stay with their natal pack, and that works out pretty much just so. You know, the safety in numbers thing is always kind of a good thing for mongoose to have. While they can start out with very small numbers, like 2 to 3 individuals, they do prefer to have the larger groups, so no one really gets kicked out when they're of a certain age.
Do they have sharp teeth?
Boy, do they. Yes, very sharp teeth and very sharp claws. These guys have to dig out a lot of the food sources that they eat. And as I said, since they are carnivores, even though they are omnivores as well, they are, you know, they have those carnassial teeth that can rip through anything that they decide to bite.
How big is a typical litter?
Typical litters are usually 4 to 6. Like with most things in nature, there are exceptions. A couple more. We had the 5 born last May, and that is a very typical good-sized litter. So while we're here, I can talk a little bit about just some of the curiosity about these guys and how much they love whatever comes into this exhibit. Something as simple as just moving some of the tree branches around or some of the logs and things like that. Even just doing that, it's kind of like a whole new world for them. So they are very interested in everything. They do have a strong flight response, but they also can't help their curiosity. They love to scent mark pretty much everything, because that goes along with that extreme territorial behavior that they have. So even the things that have been in here for a while, just moving them or touching them as keepers, they oftentimes will go over it and just mark over it and mark over it and mark over it, just to make sure that their scent is still present.
That reminds me of the question I was going to ask.
Great.
What kinds of enrichment do they get?
Well, like most animals, their favorite thing is whatever is food related. But we do give them lots of different substrates. They love to dig around for worms in the substrates. They like to have different climbing things, so we have a variety of logs and branches and things like that that we can kind of trade in and out. Sometimes we do swaps with some of the other animals in this building. We'll swap tree branches just so they can smell other scents of other animals, which is a big thing for them. These guys love all sorts of things. You could probably wad up a piece of paper and throw it in there, and they would find that just utterly amazing. We have shells that we can put like all sorts of different things in that they have to kind of turn over and dig out. And we have a really excellent exhibits department that has made all sorts of very naturalistic looking things for them to kind of exercise and dig around and scent mark. And they are just, as you can see, they are exhausting. They never stop moving. So they get a wide variety of things, and they seem to love all of it.
What's their favorite treat?
Their favorite treat is mealworms, hands down. They get mealworms tossed to them all around the exhibit a few times a day, and it is just like the best thing ever to watch them, because they are squeaking and running, and they are constantly ready for it. They never tire of that treat.
So in the wild, would they dig burrows or would they make nests? Where do they live?
They typically like to live around termite mounds. They utilize those quite a bit out in the wild, and also like rocky outcrops. You know, they definitely need protection from land animals, of course, but also from aerial predators. You know, these guys are small. They could be swooped up in no time by any kind of raptor out there. So they have to have places where they can hide. So the termite mounds that they typically are around serve as shelter. They serve as a vantage point because they can get on top of them and look out over the grassland. And for a while there, they'll also serve as a food source. Once the food source is extinguished from that termite mound, they will oftentimes move out to another one. But if there are a lot of other mongoose groups in the area, they could run into a little bit of a territorial issue, which does happen from time to time. But typically they have to live in something. They don't really dig burrows. They don't live underground, but they do tend to live in the termite mound and tree branch crevices and things like that. But not arboreal. Sorry, I should clarify that.
So how long do they sleep? And do they sleep in a big group?
They sleep in a giant twisted mongoose pile. It is just like, you can't even tell where they start and where they stop. They do that to huddle together for warmth. They do it as a bonding. I would assume that these guys sleep for a good portion of the night. We're not here to really see how long they sleep. During the day, they get interrupted by guests coming to see them, noises in the building, and also keepers just dropping off food, which they don't seem to mind getting woken up for. But we do see them kind of nap throughout the day, a little bit here and there. But I'm sure that they must just drop out at some point during the night from all this running. But they do lay in a giant pile together. You won't see mongooses kind of sleeping solo.
And how often are they able to have litters?
They can pretty much have litters of 2 to 3, pretty much back to back. In the wild, it typically corresponds with the rainy season. Here, while we can't really mimic a rainy season for them, it typically just depends on whether or not we have a compatible group, and if they breed, and if we are able to house another group, we oftentimes will let them do just that. The females can come into estrus pretty soon, right after that litter is born, so it can be a rapid succession. Before you know it, you've got a bunch of mongoose everywhere.
Hey, I wouldn't complain.
No, me neither.
They're so cute. Are they endangered?
They are not, thankfully. They are pretty common around Eastern and Central Africa. They are, of course, hunted by other animals. They have even been hunted for food by people. However, their numbers are so that they are not endangered, thankfully for that.
Are they sexually dimorphic? Can you tell the males from the females by size or color?
No, actually, they are all, dwarf mongooses I'll speak to specifically. Dwarf mongooses are pretty much always this kind of brownish gray with like a little bit of a reddish hue to them. The males and the females are the same size. Our male and female, our mom and dad of this group, they weigh the same. The dwarf mongooses typically weigh around a pound, give or take a little on either side of that pound. But no, they are not. There's no way to just kind of, oh, it's a certain color, it's a male. No, they all kind of blend together, as you can see.
And I'm not sure if you already said this. How long do they live?
Typically in the wild, it's usually just about 6 to 10. It's a rough life out there. Here in managed care, when they have, safety from predators and access to all sorts of food and vet care and things like that, they can usually live into the mid-teens.
Do they have good hearing?
They do. All of their senses are very, very acute. They have great vision, great hearing, great sense of smell. Their eyes are actually a little bit farther apart on the sides of their face, and that's to give them a better kind of overall panoramic to help look for predators. Even though they're very low to the ground, they will stand bipedal, meaning on their back legs only, to kind of look up over the brush or over the grass that they're in. And those eyes being a little bit off the center of their head really aid them in being able to see what's going on.
Now, apart from other do you say mongooses or mongoose?
I believe both are acceptable, but I've always just said mongooses, but have at it.
Okay, so aside from other mongooses,
there you go.
What other animals are they related to?
They are related to civets and genets. Civets and genets are typically, I'm going to get a little technical, they're in the viverrid family, whereas these guys are considered Herpestidae, and I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to bore anybody with any of that. but they are related to the fossa, which is a large carnivore in Madagascar, and also civets and genets.
So are they rodents?
They are not at all rodents.
So they don't have to worry about keeping their teeth.
No, their teeth do not continuously grow. They do not have continuous litters. They are not rodents at all. Nothing against rodents. They are so interested in that. Hi.
So they're running around all over the place here. How fast can they run if you were just like to have a mongoose race?
Gosh, mongoose race.
I don't know.
How fun would that be, right? Well, I mean, to put it technically, they are greased lightning. I don't know how fast they run, honestly. I'm not sure if that's ever been clocked, but I would say they could probably zip around in that 15 to 20 mile an hour range, and for being such a small animal, it's like a flash. So, which is good, because they definitely need to run from predators whenever they come around.
What is your favorite fact about mongooses?
My favorite fact about...
Yeah, you have to pick.
Well, I do really love that they have a symbiotic relationship with hornbills out in the wild. I love that there's another animal that they are completely unrelated to that they can work together with and kind of look out for each other. I find that very endearing. And I love all of their vocalizations.
What sounds do they make?
They have such crazy high-pitched squeaks and this kind of chee sound that they do, and they have so many we don't even know what they're all for. But sometimes they're just kind of screeching at you. They almost sound like a video game. They're pretty funny.
And where can visitors to Brookfield Zoo find them in the zoo?
In Habitat Africa, the Kopi. We are inside the building, right between where the dogs and the giraffes are seen. We're in that building back there, so definitely come check them out. I think that's about all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us and listening to me talk about dwarf mongoose. I hope you like them as much as I do. Thank you so much for supporting the zoo, and hopefully we will see you very, very soon. Take care. Thank you.